Hi, this is our fifth installment on me explaining the brain and how a little bit of knowledge about how it works can really impact on your training and how everything impacts on everything else. Everything is knitted together in the one sole purpose of protecting this, keeping the head safe, or how we are instinctively designed, programmed to just follow that one main directive, the second directive being to the survival of the species. So to summarize, if you're jumping in now and this is the first time you're listening, we've covered the lobes of the brain, we've covered the brain stem, the pons medulla oblongata and the mesencephalon, and we're talking about the cerebellum, which is at the base of the brain. It only takes up 10% of the space, but it holds 50% of all the neurons, and it controls or modulates the rate, the rhythm, the force, and the accuracy of all our motor output, including the smoothness of our thoughts and emotions. It's hugely impactful, and when it is dysfunctional, one side or the other, it can make a very big difference to how your body responds to instructions. So last video, we discussed the midline of the cerebellum, and the input to the midline of the cerebellum comes from our vestibular system, which is the ears, the eyes, the cranium, the jaw, and our spine. And our output of the midline of the cerebellum is our balance, our posture, curves of our spine, and all the systems that are involved, because our endocrine system, the big vagus nerve, comes up through the spinal cord. Anything that is feeding up through the spinal cord is involved in the midline of the cerebellum. This time we're talking about the intermediate zone of the cerebellum. So the input to the intermediate zone of the cerebellum is unconscious proprioception. We discussed previously that 95% of proprioception is unconscious. And proprioception comes through our nervous system, telling us how we feel, where we are in space. And the second really important input into the intermediate cerebellum is the efferent copy, the mechanism of efferent copy. So here's how it'll go. The frontal lobe will give an instruction, for example, to lift the arm to a right angle. A copy of that instruction is going to go to my cerebellum. The cerebellum's job is to modulate the rate, the rhythm, the force, and the accuracy of the instruction that has been received. Once the action has taken place, the cerebellum is going to check out, did that actually happen? How did it happen? What happened? Was it correct? And then it's going to let the frontal lobe know what corrections to make that movement more accurate, more efficient, more functional. So the efferent copy mechanism is driven by learning new things. It's really active when you're learning new skills. Even if you want to apply it to lifting weights, when you go to lift that weight for the first time and your cerebellum has to then adjust how to tell the frontal lobe what force needs to be added, the accuracy, how that needs to be changed. Maybe you're asking for a different rhythm. These are all ways in which you can challenge your cerebellum in any of your forms of training. Rate, rhythm, force, and accuracy. Okay, so basically, just coming back to proprioception just for a second. So proprioception from the viscera, from the viscera, the tummy, there's muscle spindles, the GTOs, which are the Golgi tendon organs, and the joint mechanoreceptors. Those are big mouthfuls, aren't they? Joint mechanoreceptors travel through the spine and up onto the intermediate zone. Efferent copy, checking out what actually occurred, sending the correction. So the output basically is muscle tone, posture, rate, rhythm, force, and accuracy, of course, all falls into that little category. Control and coordination of your proximal joints. So your proximal refers to the joint on the end of the bone, which is closest to your spine. So my proximal joint of my humerus bone is my shoulder. The proximal joint of my ulna, my radius, and my forearm is my elbow. And the distal joint is the one furthest away. Okay, so at the proximal joints, at the joints where it's the top, the origin of the bone, that's where that's what we're talking about. The control, the coordination of those joints. And that would then refer to shoulder, elbow, knees, and hips, less so the ankles and the wrists, but still can be considered proximal joints. And then the other output is gaze fixation, the ability to keep your eyes fixated on a target while moving your head. I challenge you to just keep your head and your eyes working together and move it around a little bit, and just imagine playing sport if you couldn't move your eyes independently from your head. That makes me feel positively nauseous because all of a sudden my vestibular system is going, that was just a barrage of information, and yeah. Okay, so let's take this into some movement, shall we? Right, so since one of our inputs is proximal joints, unconscious proprioception at our joint mechanoreceptors of our proximal joints, we're going to use the shoulders, and we're going to do a little test called RCMs. They are rapid coordinated movements. So I've done it once or twice before in class with some of you. I want you to stand with zombie arms, fingers together, arms straight out in front of you, relax those shoulders, and we're going to be spinning the arms from the shoulders backwards and forwards, keeping those fingers together, and we're going to close the eyes, and we're going to see if we can speed it up and just see how that feels. Breathing. And just see what that feels like to you, whether you feel that there is any difference between the right and the left. And if there was a big difference between the right and the left, sometimes you feel the arm kind of doing a loop-the-loop, or one is slower than the other, or it feels like it's paddling. For me, it felt pretty the same, but this hand was definitely trying to cup a little bit more. I could feel there was a little bit more tension. Just kind of noticing the difference. Now, if there's a very definite difference on that side, one of the things that we can try to do to drive that side of the intermediate cerebellum is to do a little bit of eyes, a little bit of vestibular ocular reflex training. So if we had a side that was struggling, for example, we say maybe the shoulder was struggling, I would then bring my head to that side and then turn my body, turn the head. So if there was a side that was struggling, let's say, for example, I felt that this left shoulder was a little sluggish or was making different movements, I would start with my eyes, pushing my eyes to that side, and then turn my head to bring my head in line with my eyes. Relax and come back. I'm going to do it again. So this is a VOR cancellation. I'm setting my target with my eyes and then turning my head to where the eyes landed. Turning my body, everything, to where my eyes landed. So again, pushing the eyes over to the side, whichever side it might have been, if there was one at all, and then just coming to that target. And you could do that a couple of times because it lands, it's input into the same part of the brain, the same part of the cerebellum, vestibular ocular reflex and unconscious proprioception. input, output, drive it. So the other thing that, of course, is so awesome about the intermediate part of the cerebellum is the efferent copy. So when we're training, the more interesting you make your movements, the more you challenge yourself to learn new skills, the more you're driving that intermediate part of the brain. That's why practices like Tai Chi, things in our training disciplines like the animal flow, Pilates has flow to it sometimes, but you're definitely being very precise about your movements. Dance is a fantastic form of exercise. Even anything that's choreographed and learned and patterned that you can repeat and perfect and be really precise about. You can change the rhythm up a little bit. So I thought to add to our little video today for something physical to do, I would put in a little pattern that you guys could maybe try and give it a go and try and learn it and try and improve on it. See if you can challenge yourself to feel that communication throughout your whole body. Right, I'm going to talk it through once, and then I'm going to just let it flow once through. I've got myself into a nice quadruped position, toes tucked under. Take a deep breath in, let your belly fill. Breathe out and draw the belly up towards the spine. Let the ribs soften down. And we're going to find our lovely long plank position, holding onto those lower tummy muscles. So from here, I'm going to get myself into a nice little squat. Bend those knees off the floor, bum is reaching out. Thrusting forward, step forward with the right leg into a lunge. And step back. Bend those knees. Left leg, step forward and step back. Right leg, step forward. Lift that left leg and right arm to step through. Reach to the front. Roll it back. Roll it forward. I want to roll back. Arms next to the ears. Whoops, hips up. Roll forward. Bend the left leg. Stretch the right one. Right hand back. And lift up. Anchor that right foot as we're going to bring the left knee up. Extend the leg up into the air if you can. Step across with the left foot. Rotate round and step back into your up stretch. Give me a nice angry cat curl through. Lift the heels. Curl through vertebra by vertebra. I'm going to try not to put the knees down. Open that chest. Go back with the bum first. Knees off the floor if you can. And push back up to come forward into plank. And to start again. Squat back. Left leg steps forward. Step back into the squat. Right leg steps forward. Back into the squat. Left leg steps forward. It's the right foot and the left arm stepping through. Reach to the front. Roll that down. Rolling forward. Arms stay next to your ears. Roll back into our jackknife. Whoop. Roll forward. Bend the right leg, and push up. We're going to bring that right foot to the knee and extend if you can. Step across with the right foot, twist it round and back into your up stretch. Lifting up onto the balls of the feet. Tuck the pelvis under as you curl forward. Try and keep those legs nice and straight, chest open, go bum first, bending those knees. And stretch. And back into plank. I'm going to set myself a bit of a rhythm. So that's something to play with. Anything that is complex coordinated movement that has your body moving in really interesting patterns that you have to pay attention, that is not just linear, a learned pattern that then doesn't actually change. Keep challenging yourself, and that will keep the intermediate cerebellum really healthy. And next time we're going to talk about the lateral cerebellum and our vestibular system in a little bit more detail. Thank you so much for joining me.